It's Esper, the jeans low head, high arms crossed kid with the black tee.
I'm gonna do a little story time today about a time when a certain hospital told my mom that I was crazy. So when I was 15 years old, I was diagnosed with anxiety, and I remember like the first time when like everybody kind of figured there was something wrong with me. My mom and my little brother had shot me with like a Nerf gun to wake me up, and I remember I woke up so fucking pissed. My mom asked me to help her move some desk thing, and I went down the stairs, tried to pick it up, and I fucking fainted. I started shaking like uncontrollably, like I was passed out and I was shaking really crazy. So my mom called an ambulance and stuff. They ran some tests and everything, and they found out that I had severe anxiety. Not only that, I had anemia. Whenever I would get really sick or I would faint from the anemia, I would have a panic attack and I would shake uncontrollably. I actually had to take some really strong medication for it because that shit was insane. And I know I have had anxiety like way before that, because thinking back to it, and I'm gonna make a story time about this, about some fucking sucky ass teachers and school staff that I had. And I remember when I was like around, I want to say I was like 11 years old, I started showing signs of anxiety. And I remember some bitch ass counselor at my school, like fuck that bitch. Like, well, I'll tell you guys all about that, but I can't believe that a school counselor didn't realize that I was showing signs of anxiety, that I had fucking crazy ass anxiety. Like, fuck you, Miss De La Garza, you a bitch, you're the worst fucking counselor I've ever known. I'll make a story time all about that, but fuck that bitch. So, when I was like 11 years old, I started showing that I had anxiety, and nobody really realized it until I was 15 years old. After being rushed to the hospital shit so many times, they finally figured out that your girl had anxiety. Fast forward to I was 17 years old, and this is like the first time I can remember going through this was when I was 17. I don't know if it happened when I was like 16, because I did have like all that anxiety and anemia shit going on. But when I was 17 years old, I used to work at this Mexican grocery store called Rancho Liborios. I was a cashier here. I don't know when this started, but I do remember like a bunch of times when I would be standing at my cash register, I would start feeling really fucking sick. Like, bitch. Like, my stomach would hurt. Not like my stomach, but like up here would hurt so fucking bad, and it felt like it was like cramping. It felt really tight. I would feel like I would have to go throw up, and I remember like I would run into the bathroom because the cash registers were like really close to the bathroom. So I would run into the bathroom and I would start, this is gross as fuck, but I would start to projectile vomit like bad as fuck numerous times. I would throw up basically my fucking guts, and then after I would be like, okay, I'm fine. I would still be in pain. I would have like a really dull pain, but I would feel better. So this just started to happen fucking all the time. I told my mom about it. She made me a doctor's appointment, and I went to go see a couple of doctors. Then they ended up sending me to a hospital so that they can run some tests and see what was going on, because clearly something was going on. Like, who the fuck projectile vomits that fucking often and there's like nothing wrong? So I remember my mom took me, and I remember this hospital because after that I was like, man, fuck this hospital. And I'm not gonna say what hospital because I feel like they might do something, but I remember that they took me to this hospital and they made me drink some like liquid shit so that they would be able to see how everything was like going into my stomach and all this shit, and I was telling them all my symptoms and everything. So I remember that they ran all these tests, and my mom, she was really worried because since I was 15, I was coming in and out of the hospital like all the fucking time, with the anxiety and shit and the anemia and shit. And with this, she was really worried about like what could be going on with me. They sent me to like this hospital in Brighton, did some tests. Then they sent me to another hospital in Aurora, and it was the same hospital. So it's like the same branch of hospital. I don't know how to explain it without like exposing the hospital, but it was like the same hospital basically. But I had been to one in Brighton, they did the tests and shit. Then they sent me to one in Aurora, and they ran more tests. After running all of these tests and shit, the doctor sat my mom down, and my mom was really worried because she's like, well, what the fuck are they gonna tell me that's wrong with this bitch now? Like, what's going on? And they basically told her it's all in her head. I basically told my mom I was fucking crazy. And I remember my mom was kind of like, what the fuck? Like, you know, there's fucking something wrong with her. That was basically the end of it. And this was when I was 17. So after that, I was still having these problems, like, because I worked at Liborios till I was 18. So I worked there for an entire year. And that whole time that I was there, I remember numerous times of just standing on my register, start feeling sick, go fucking projectile vomit. It was hard, but you know what I mean? The doctor said that there was nothing wrong with me. And I would even tell myself, like, bitch, this is all in your head. Like, you're probably all fucking stressed out. If you guys don't know, I got pregnant when I was 18 as soon as I graduated high school. At this time, I started going to these, like, I forgot what they're called. It's like a thing that they were trying at this clinic that I went to, where it was like a group for pregnant girls, and we would like go and like talk about our symptoms and shit. I don't even remember what it was called, but I remember that I would go and like it was a big ass group of girls. This one time I had gone and the doctor was asking if anybody of us have been experiencing any like contractions or anything. I told the doctor, I'm like, yeah, well, I went to the hospital the other day because I was having a lot of pain, and they told me that I was just having contractions, that I just need to be drinking a lot of water. And the doctor, she asked me like, well, what exactly did you feel? And I told her where I was feeling the pain, and she told me, she's like, that doesn't sound like contractions. I think there's something else going on with you. But that's it. Like, she didn't even check me or anything. She just told me, I think there's something else going on with you. Like, those weren't contractions. Throughout my whole pregnancy with my son, I would get these pains all the time. Fast forward to I had my son. Like 3 months after I had him, I woke up one night because I was in so much fucking pain. I felt like nauseous. I felt like I was gonna fucking faint. And I went into my mom's room and I was like, Mom, I think there's something wrong with me. And she was like, what do you mean? I'm like, I feel really sick. And this was like late at night. It was like midnight or 1 in the morning. So she was like getting up out of bed, and I fucking start to projectile vomit. And my mom was like, what the hell? And I was like, I was throwing up so much. And my mom, she called an ambulance, and they came to pick me up. And I was having an anxiety attack because anytime I feel like sick, I start to panic and I start to shake. I remember I was in the hospital the entire morning, and they ran some tests and shit. And they came to the conclusion that I had gastritis. You know, that was that. They just told me, oh, you just need to be careful with what you eat, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, all right, cool, like, I guess. So the very next night, I start feeling sick as fuck again. Same thing. Ambulance has to fucking come and pick me up again. So there I go, and I ended up going to Rose Medical Center. Now, gave me some painkillers and shit, and I remember they took me into an ultrasound room. He was like asking me all these questions and stuff. I was like, yeah, like, this is really annoying. Like, I was just in the hospital last night and this and that. He's like, well, what did they tell you? I'm like, well, they just said I had a gastritis. Like, I've been having this pain since I was 17. At this time, I was about to be 19. I was either about to be 19 or I was already 19. So I've been having this pain for fucking 2 years, and the doctor tells me, he's like, they told you that you had gastritis. I'm like, yeah, they just checked me out last night. You know, the doctor's telling me, he's like checking me, and he was like, you have gallstones. And I was like, what? Like, what the fuck is that? He's like, yeah, you have like really big stones and they're stuck right there. That's why you keep having all that pain. And I was like, what? Yeah, I called my mom and I told her, and I was gonna need to get surgery to get my gallbladder removed. And I remember like telling my mom, like, can you believe it? Because my mom, she was really irritated with the fact that after doing all those tests and shit, the doctors had the nerve to tell my mom that I was just crazy, that like everything I was experiencing was all in my head, because she had seen all the stuff I was going through. So she was like, that shit cannot be in her fucking head. If like we see the like what's going on with her, how is that just in her head? Finally, after 2 years of fucking going through this pain and shit, I had to get my gallbladder removed. I was so mad because I'm like, this shit, like, I've been like this for fucking years. So many times at work, I'd be sick as fuck because of these fucking gallstones, and instead of the doctors doing more tests or whatever, they just come to the conclusion that it's all in my head. I actually remembered this story because if you guys haven't watched that movie Brain on Fire on Netflix, when she's misdiagnosed and everything, it made me think of this. Clearly it wasn't as bad as hers, because that shit was bad as fuck. But I feel like me being diagnosed with a mental health problem is what made the doctors jump to the conclusion that everything I was experiencing was all in my head. I don't know about you guys, but with me, I've had a lot of doctors treat me differently and see me differently because of my mental health problems. Because once it's, you know, it's in my record, it's in my record. I feel like once they see, okay, this person has mental health problems, they treat me a lot differently, that anything I could possibly be experiencing is just in my head. See, the year after that, so, you know, I get my gallbladder taken out, whatever, I'm still having a lot of pain. And I would get pain like a lot and shit, and I checked on the internet and it said that you could get like phantom pains from the gallstones and shit. So I was like, alright, that's probably like what it is. Whole year has passed, I'm having pain here and there, I'm still going to the doctor here and there. They fucking already know me because I'm there all the fucking time. And same thing, just painkillers and go, painkillers and go. This one time I went to go drop off my little brother at my brother Jesus' office, I remember, and the whole drive there I started just having more and more pain. And I came home and I remember I started feeling really like dizzy and nauseous, and I laid down and I kept hoping that the pain would go away because, you know, after years of dealing with this shit, when I first had my gallbladder and I would have like those attacks and shit, I knew that after I'd throw up I would be in pain, but it's not as much pain. And after my gallbladder was out, if I would have the pain, I would just lay on my side for a few hours and eventually it would go away. So this day, I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm laying there and hoping that the pain goes away, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. I told my dad, I was like, Dad, like, I need to go to the hospital. There's something wrong with me. I feel it. The pain isn't going away. It's getting worse. There we go to Rose Medical Center. And when I'm there, you know, they gave me some painkillers, and I was thinking, all right, well, you know, they're gonna be just like all the other hospitals, where again they just give me like painkillers, I'm gonna go home and this is gonna happen again later on, and same thing, and because it was just a routine. So I'm there and this doctor comes in and he was like, so you're gonna have to get some emergency surgery because you have appendicitis. And I was like, bruh, what? Like, are you fucking serious? I was just with like a GI doctor. Like, I had just got some tests done the week before and they couldn't find anything. So now this doctor's telling me that they need to take out my appendix. And I was like, what the fuck? So I called my mom. I was like, hey mom, so I'm gonna get an emergency surgery done. I wish that doctors, you know, not all doctors but some doctors, I feel like if you have a mental health problem, they just jump to conclusions so fucking fast. I'm glad that I've had those good doctors that I ran into at Rose, because if not, you know, I'd be fucking going through all this shit. Bitch, I could have died. Something could have happened. Like, it's so irritating. And the thing is that still to this day whenever I have a problem, I do come across a lot of doctors that take into consideration my mental health problems first before wanting to even look at whatever I could possibly be going to. Like, for example, 2 years ago, there was this one day where I had an appointment. Earlier in the morning, I had been cutting my dog's hair. Then, you know, I've been fine. It's been a cool day, whatever. I go to my appointment and I take both of my kids. And I remember I had been talking to my dad on the phone, and I was just telling him, I'm like, you know, like, my legs feel really weird. I don't know what's going on. Like, they just felt kind of like they were numb, and I had to drive. It wasn't that far from my house, but I was having like a hard time keeping my foot on the gas. I pulled up to the place, whatever, and I told my dad, hey, like, you know, I'm here. I don't think I should be here that long. I'll call you when I'm out, whatever. I put my daughter, because she was only a few months, and I put my daughter in that little, like, I don't know what they're called, the little, like, thing where it's like a pocket right here, you just put her in. And I was walking with my son, and the next thing I know, everything goes black, and I hear some guy screaming, and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, what the fuck is going on? And I opened my eyes, and I'm laying on the floor, like on the sidewalk, and I hear some guy yelling out, hey, are you okay? Are you okay? And I was like, what the fuck? Like, who is he talking to? And, you know, I'm like, what is going on? And the guy, he came running over. He's like, are you okay? You fainted and you fell. And I was like, bruh. He was trying to pick me up, and I couldn't. Like, my feet were numb. Like, my legs from my knees down were numb, and I couldn't feel anything. I had, like, I guess I had fallen, like, I hit my foot really bad, and it started to swell up. And so they called an ambulance, and I called my dad. I'm like, Dad, you need to come, like, for the kids, because I'm going to the hospital. I don't know what's going on. They took me in. They were, like, checking everything that was going on, like if I had done anything, you know, like if I had broken my foot or anything. They checked it, it was just sprained. They told me like I needed to follow up with a doctor and with a specialist that they could check, like to see what was going on. I went to a neurologist and he was like checking everything and put me on some medication for it because they couldn't really find like the root of the problem because everything looked fine. But for whatever reason, like my legs went numb, you know, like I fainted and shit. I fucking sprained my foot and I had to be walking around with a walking stick for like I think it was like a week or two because my legs were so weak. And I remember one of the doctors, he was so worried because he was like checking my reflexes and everything, and he was like, you need to keep that walking stick on hand because there's a really big chance that this is going to happen to you again. And we couldn't figure out why. At this one clinic that I went to, I remember going in and my doctor was like, I'm gonna send in somebody to talk to you, like, and I remember they had a therapist come in and talk to me, and I was like, because I guess my doctor at the time had told the therapist what had happened and they thought that it was just something to do with my mental health that caused my legs to go numb. And I was like, are you fucking serious? Do you know how many times I have been misdiagnosed? I have been told that there's nothing wrong with me, that it's all in my head. When I was 17 years old, that was like just the beginning of being told that whatever I was experiencing was all in my head, or whatever I was experiencing was just a result of my mental health problems. I feel like when you have a mental health problem, it's not like you feel shit differently, or, you know, like the pain. I feel the pain the fucking same as anybody else who doesn't have a mental health problem. I know when it's me freaking the fuck out, and I know when it's me having physical insane pain. You know, tell me now, if you have a mental health problem, if you've been diagnosed with a mental health problem, tell me not if you've ever gone to a doctor with something else, the first thing they jump to is your mental health problems. They're like, oh, okay, you know, you have this problem, that's why you're imagining this. Like, really? Like, if you're a doctor, don't right away jump to the conclusion that your patient is just fucking crazy. Because, you know, we're not crazy. Like, we're not crazy. And it's just like, I shouldn't have to explain to you guys that I'm not crazy. You know, these fucking surgeries and shit, emergency surgeries, all the fucking hospital visits and shit tell you that I'm not crazy. Tells you that you fucking were jumping to conclusions and shit. Fucking how to get an emergency surgery, how to get my gallbladder removed, how to get this removed, how to get, you know, it's like so many things that could have been avoided if the doctors didn't right away jump to the conclusion that I was, you know, it was all in my head. Yeah, so that's, you know, the story of the beginning of doctors telling my mom that everything I was experiencing was all in my head. Years of being misdiagnosed. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. I feel like I never say that, but give me a thumbs up. Don't be a hater, give me a thumbs up. Also, subscribe to my channel. There we go, subscribe to my channel. And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I always leave that in the description bar down below. And I'll have more videos for you guys coming soon. I know I didn't post one last week, but I've been coming down from some medication that I've been on, and honestly, it has been fucking hell. I could tell you guys about that if you guys want to know. It's been some medication I've been taking for my depression and anxiety, and it is the biggest mistake I have done medication-wise. So I could tell you guys all about that if you guys want to know, but I should have some new videos up here soon. I will be going to Global in a few weeks. I'm fucking so excited. So I have the videos up of like my outfits that I'm making because they're gonna look so good. And just any other requests that you guys have, just let me know. I could definitely do those because I always like need new ideas and shit. Also, watch Brain on Fire. It is a good ass fucking movie, even though it doesn't have to deal with mental health. Just the way that you guys just need to watch it. So watch that shit. It was good as fuck. And I think that's all I have to say.